The time is now 7 o'clock.
Air travel. Air travel is supposed to be the safest form of travel, but when accidents do happen, they can lead to catastrophic results. And unfortunately, this is what we are seeing from the Jeju air crash that occurred at Busan International Airport yesterday morning. And the cause of the crash and the extent of the damages are still emerging. We won't know. And all we can do at this point is to express our deepest condolences to the families. And of course, ask for answers, seek answers to make the country and the people safer. I'm Catherine. This is Morning Wave in Busan on Monday, December 30th on BEFM, 부산 영어 방송. Good morning, Wavers. I wish I could be the bearer of good news this morning. Unfortunately, that is not so. I don't know how many hours you slept or how many hours you were consuming the news over the weekend, especially yesterday. Well, just in case you haven't heard, tragedy struck at Busan International Airport in Jeonnam yesterday. This happened early in the morning when Jeju Air Flight 7C-2216 from Bangkok crashed on the runway at 9:03 a.m. So rescue workers found 2 survivors. Both flight attendants and all others on board have now been confirmed to have perished. The scene of the accident is devastating, with only the tail of the plane remaining intact, as you probably saw on TV, the blaze and the black smoke that ensued after the accident. And the government has declared Busan a special disaster zone. And the government and Jeju Air have vowed full support for the families of the victims. Also, we have officially declared this period. We have entered a period of national mourning through January 4th. So 내년 1월 4일까지 국가의 애도 기간 지정됐습니다. And there are more questions and speculation right now than answers, at least from what the Land Infrastructure and Transport official briefing, what we've been able to glean so far. The control tower at the airport warned of a bird strike, 조류 충돌, at 8:57 a.m. And we don't know if there's a connection, but a few minutes later, the pilot sent a Mayday distress signal. And the authorities, they have apparently retrieved both of the black boxes and are working to rebuild and to look into the situation to find out what exactly happened before the crash, before the accident. And looking at things from all different views, there's a lot of speculation at this point, but we're just going to leave it at that because we only want to deal with the facts today. And the fact that we are dealing with a national tragedy, and it's going to take at least months, if not years, for concrete answers to emerge. So looking back in history, modern history, some of the accidents, we've had to wait several years to find out the exact cause. Anyhow, what's important now is to be patient, and we're going to only try to relay the facts to you as we know them. And so that is our main story for today. All right, so we have just 2 days left in the year 2024. For our text topic today, what would you like to say to your family or loved ones as we wrap up this year? 자, 한 해가 마무리됩니다. 이틀밖에 안 남았는데요. 올해 마무리하면서 가족 혹은 사랑하는 사람들에게 전하고 싶은 메시지는 What would you like to say? So you can send in your messages to BFM's live stream live chat on YouTube. Go to our YouTube channel. In order to find it, though, you have to type in BEFM or 부산 영어 방송, and then you'll find our channel, subscribe, click on that to log in and chat away with our other waivers. Also on your phone, pound 9050, shop 9050. That's going to cost you 100 won. You can also reach me for free through Kakao Talk. And same thing there. To find our channel, type in BEFM or Busan 영어 방송, and a very easy way to get in touch with me. And the ways you can listen to us, 90.5 or 103.3 FM on the radio. And like I said, we are streaming live on YouTube as we speak. You can watch again at your leisure. And we're available on two apps, our own BEFM app and also the Patbang app. Looking ahead to our morning together, we have our usual segments like Showbiz Buzz with Michael, Business Perspectives with Bobby. Later on in hour number 2, we have two special interviews planned for you. First up, yes, the Jeju air crash. What we know thus far from an expert. And we're going to be talking about this throughout the program, obviously. And then our second interview, we've been taking a look back on the year 2024. Economically, politically. Now we're going to take a look at 2024, a medical review. So stay tuned for all of this, plus much, much more. And I'll be back with today's headlines. It is now 7:06, and these are today's headlines. 179 confirmed dead in Jeju airplane crash in Muan. A passenger jet carrying 181 people belly landed and exploded at an airport in the southwestern county of Muan yesterday, killing 179 with 2 others having been rescued, authorities said. National mourning period underway over Jeju air crash. Acting President Choi Sang-mok announced a 7-day national mourning period over the deadly Jeju airplane crash, extending deepest condolences to the bereaved families yesterday. Jeju Air vows all-out efforts to cope with accident. Jeju Air said that it will spare no effort to cope with the deadly plane crash, saying that it is currently working to determine the exact cause and details of the situation. Yoon ignores third summons for martial law questioning. President Yoon Suk-yeol yesterday refused to appear for questioning at the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, or CIO, for the third time, raising the likelihood of an arrest warrant by the CIO. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, philanthropist and winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, has died at the age of 100. And these are today's headlines. It is now time to check in with Sue for Busan Updates. Let's say hi to her first. Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine.
Yes. I know a lot of people have, the crash in mind, but we still have to go over some of our important updates. And, I think for our text topic today, it's appropriate. We want to talk about things that we want to say, relay messages or anything you have to say to your family or loved ones as we wrap up 2024. What would you like to say?
Yes, I want my family to know that how grateful I am for their support and love. And I know I have a few mean streaks, but I'm trying really hard to make them happy and do the best that I can.
Well, assuming that they're listening, I'm sure they're very, happy to hear that. Well, we're going to jump into our Busan updates. In Busan, more than half the workers in the sewing industry were found to earn less than the minimum wage.
Yes, the Busan Labor Rights Center, Busan 노동권익센터 announced the results of the 2024 Labor Conditions Survey for sewing industry workers conducted from November 7th to 30th. Among regular employees, excluding self-employed individuals, around 60% earned less than 2 million won, 200만 won per month. This is lower than the minimum monthly wage for this year, which is calculated 2.06 million won. 206만 won. In Kumjang district, there are many sewing companies that specialize in manufacturing military uniforms and school uniforms. In Saha district, businesses primarily produce low-cost products, while Dong district and Busanjin district hold a large number of self-employed individuals, usually one person operating their own business.
I see. Well, what are the concerns for these sewing industry workers?
First, most workers are the elderly. Workers in their 60s make up the largest portion at 38%, and when including those in their 70s and 80s, the proportion of workers aged 60 and older are around 48%. Also, the Busan Labor Rights Center highlighted that wages do not increase with experience in the sewing industry. It is pointed out that structural challenges such as low wages, poor working conditions, economic downturn, and competition among similar businesses all affect the industry.
Yes. Well, hopefully, there will be compliance with minimum labor standards, and we want everybody to be able to make a living, right? So hopefully we'll hear more or better information on that front. Let's move on. The multi-million won self-camera machine installed to boost tourism at Haeundae Beach in Busan will stop operation after 3 years due to low usage rates.
Yes, so this self-camera machine called Panorama Haeundae service was installed in October 22 using a 210 million won budget. To take photos, visitors can go to the beach to the photo zone in front of the Haeundae Beach Tourist Information Center and scan a QR code to connect with their smartphone. Then the high-resolution cameras installed on the roof of the information center take a photo of the visitors along with the panoramic view of Haeundae. They can even take 10-second short-form videos. The images and videos are sent to the user via email or smartphone.
Yes. So what is the usage rate of this service so far and the main reason for, basically shutting it down?
From October to December 2022, during its first 3 months of operation, the service was used only 2,361 times, averaging 26 uses per day. Last year, the daily average increased to 70 uses, but this year it dropped again to an average of 40 uses per day. However, due to insufficient promotion and the inconvenience of requiring users to sign up and log in to use the cameras, the service experienced low usage rates. So the decision was made to be discontinued starting next year.
I see. I can see how, having to sign up and log in, that might be cumbersome, especially for tourists, right? Let's move on and talk about this. Busan Port's 자성대 terminal, the 자성대부두, the country's first dedicated container terminal. And this, actually, they will cease operations at the end of this year, marking 46 years since its opening.
This relocation of 자성대 terminal to the new terminal is one of the biggest changes at Busan Port. Since September 2023, Busan Port has been operating a dual port system where both the existing 자성대 terminal and the new terminal are running simultaneously for the purpose of a smooth transition and minimizing disruptions in operations. And the relocation involves the disassembly and transfer of critical port infrastructure such as quick cranes and other unloading equipment to the new terminal. Once this process is completed, 자성대 terminal will cease operations by the end of the year. After its closure, the 자성대 terminal, will be repurposed for the use of machinery manufacturing site and cargo parking areas. The BPA,
Are you okay?
Yes.
Okay.
The Busan Port Authority announced that it will carry out maintenance work to remodel outdated rest areas, sanitation facilities, and waiting rooms for port workers to enhance their welfare. The expansion and relocation work are expected to be completed by 2026.
Thank you for that information. All right, our last bit of news. 홈플러스 has announced that it will accept voluntary retirement applications from employees in Busan, Ulsan, and Gyeongnam. So can you explain the reasoning behind this decision?
So the purpose of this voluntary retirement program is to improve the company's organizational health by addressing the labor supply imbalance in these regions and making necessary structural adjustments. The decision was influenced by high inflation and the economic downturn, as well as the rising exchange rates and political instability. The retail sector, which is particularly vulnerable to economic fluctuations, has been directly impacted, leading 홈플러스 to make this decision. Only employees who voluntarily apply for the retirement program are eligible, and the program will target those who have been employed at stores in these regions for over 10 years or more. There will be severance compensation in addition to the legal severance pay. Also, 홈플러스 plans to continue investing in the region by transforming key locations such as Asiad and Centum City stores into 홈플러스 Mega Food Market Life to maintain its leadership in the region.
I see. Well, thank you for giving us all the updates. We'll check in with you tomorrow. Stay safe and warm. We'll talk to you tomorrow. Thank you, Sue.
Thank you, Catherine.
All right, and now let's get to your traffic and weather. It's now time for your traffic report. There is congestion being reported from Hwangyong Tunnel to the old Gaegeum Tollgate by the Dongso overpass right now. Also, backed up on Luno Samsung-daedo from Ulsukdo Bridge Tollgate to Shinho Bridge. Also slow looking right now on Gwanmun-daedo from Bangyang Tunnel to Baegyang Tunnel. As for the weather, it's currently 4 degrees Celsius under partially cloudy skies. The daytime high will go up to 12 degrees, so relatively warmer than yesterday. There is a dry weather special alert in effect over Busan. Across the country, snow is forecast for parts of Gangwon, Gyeonggi, Jeonbuk, and Gyeongbuk. Bad find us over the capital area starting tonight. And this was your traffic and weather.
Are you an early bird? Are you up to date on the news? Are you a trendsetter? For all of the biggest issues from Busan to the world and useful information you need, right here on Morning Wave in Busan.
It is now time for News Digest. We have Haley in the studio. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes, I wish we could really it be a good morning. That's just a greeting, of course.
Right.
So, message.
I mean, hang in there, right? This has been a doozy of a year.
Yes.
Event after event. And I just hope next year will be better. Yeah, sending all of you, our waivers included, a lot of light in this time of darkness.
Indeed. All right. Our top story, obviously, is the fatal Jeju Air plane crash at one international airport. So what's the latest? Because we've been, trying to update the listeners, at least in the opening of the bridge. So what do we know?
Right. So we do have the final casualty count, and it is final as there are only now 2 survivors in the Jeju Air flight 7C2216, which flew from Bangkok to Muan International Airport. It, of course, crashed during landing. The flight had 181 people on board and 179. They have been confirmed as dead.
Indeed. So what do we know about the crash itself at this point?
Right. So the Land Infrastructure and Transport Ministry, which oversees aviation safety, they briefed the press on the minutes prior to the crash. And keep in mind that we don't know anything concrete at this point, but I am delivering you the situation that was reconstructed via the control tower and the so-called the black box recordings. So according to the Muan Airport's control tower, that is the Gwangju top, they gave approval for the flight at 8:54 a.m. yesterday morning for landing. However, the flight also received a warning about a potential bird strike, which is given when a large flock of birds or a single large bird is sighted near the aircraft. So at 8:59 a.m., the pilot noted a problem with the aircraft and issued a Mayday, which is a distress signal.
Yes.
About a minute later, at 9 a.m., the plane actually tried to land on a strip on the opposite side of the initial landing strip. And the crash happened 3 minutes later when the plane tried to land on the belly of the plane without wheels down and crash into the wall at the airport.
Yes.
And then on top of that, so that's what we know so far. And of course, further investigation will happen. However, this may take some time because according to the official of the ministry's Aviation and Railway Incident Investigation Board, there are 2 black boxes on board an airplane. But the flight data recorder, FDR, it's been damaged when it was collected. And the authorities are looking into sending it even to the United States to try to retrieve data and get it fixed. But that will take some time. The cockpit voice recorder, which is the second black box, the CVR, is intact. So determining the exact cause of the crashes of this magnitude, according to experts, it typically takes at least months. And the damages to the flight data recorder, it may cause further delays. So we're looking at months up to years.
Yes. And the latest news also is that the U.S. National Transportation Safety Board, that they are going to be supporting the investigation, of course, being led by Korean authorities. And at this time, we are going to connect with Kim Soyeon. She is a news presenter at Global Gwangju Network, GGN, for what's been happening locally. And then we're going to bring it back to Haley in the studio once again to continue our coverage. So let's see if we can connect with her right now. Hi, Soyeon, are you there?
Hi, can you hear me well?
Yes, we can hear you well. And thank you for coming on with us so early in the morning.
Thank you for having me.
Yes.
Oh, no worries.
So give us what you know right now.
Right, so as we already know, after the flight crash, there have been a lot of flight cancellations and disruptions. So following the crash, all domestic and international flights to and from Muan Airport have been cancelled. And the first flight cancellation occurred immediately after the crash at 9:35 a.m. with China. And also, as for the government, as I'm sure you are also very well aware of, the South Korean government has declared Muan County as a special disaster zone. And the Ministry of Land, Infrastructure and Transport announced the closure of Muan Airport's runway until 5 a.m. on January 1st. Now, a 7-day national mourning period has also been declared from January 1st. From yesterday to the 4th. And the government buildings will fly flags at half-mast and officials will be wearing mourning ribbons. And joint memorial sites will be set up in 17 cities and counties with a dedicated support center at Muan Airport for the victims' families. As for Gwangju City, there have been so far found 81 victims identified as residents of Gwangju City. And among the victims were local media staff from KBS광주, MBC Mokpo, also the members of the Kia Tigers PR team. And the city of Gwangju has also declared a 1-week mourning period until January 4th. And this was actually declared even before the government had declared for the national one. And the memorial altars will be set up at Gwangju's May 18th Memorial Park and other locations. Also, other regional events that were planned, such as the New Year celebrations in Gwangju, Jeonnam, and various towns, have also been cancelled in remembrance of the victims.
Yes.
Apart from this, the Korean Red Cross has also set up an emergency support booth at Muan Airport. They're offering water, hot packs, and blankets to the families of the victims, as well as psychological counseling services available on site. And Jeonnam Province has provided temporary accommodations and support at local universities and welfare centers for the victims' families as well.
Yes. So, Soyeon, can you also tell us what we know thus far about who the victims are and the regional impact? And of course, the reason why we're connecting with you is because many of the victims were from the Gwangju, Jeonnam region, correct?
Precisely. So they were mostly from the Gwangju and Jeonnam regions. As I mentioned, 81 members have been found to be of residents of Gwangju City, and it is with a significant number being family groups. So local government workers, educators, and farmers were among those on the flight. And I'm talking about the Cheonnam people. And the youngest victim was a 3-year-old boy, while the oldest was a 78-year-old man. The flight also happened to have carried 2 Thai nationals, and to their embassies have been informed about this crash as well.
Indeed. And what do we know thus far about the investigation? Because I know it's very preliminary at this point, so we can't pinpoint the cause. But what do we know so far?
So previously, there have been preliminary investigations talking about the possibility that the runway length at the Muan airport had contributed to the crash because the length of the runway is 2.8 kilometers. However, it is actually, according to many of the interviews and of the other flight experts, that this actually runway is deemed adequate. And it is similar to other regional airports like Daegu and Cheongju as well. And according to a separate interview that I have personally conducted with airplane pilots, actually 1.5 kilometers will be sufficient enough for a landing. So 2.8 kilometers of Muan runway is actually more than enough.
Yes. So thus far, it seems that might not be a factor, at least preliminarily. But what about this whole bird strike issue and even some say even safety at Muan International Airport?
Right. So this recent crash of this Jeju Air flight had also raised concerns about the bird strikes. And apparently Muan International Airport has the highest bird strike rate among South Korea's 14 regional airports. And from 2019 to 2023 in August, there were 559 bird strikes across these airports, with Muan reporting 10 incidents. However, the bird strike rate at Muan based on total flights is the highest at 0.09%. And despite this, only 3.58% of bird strikes resulted in damage. And what is actually concerning is the Muan actually has 4 staff for the bird strike prevention, which is below the required number for its size. And the airport should have had at least 2 staff members. But it was actually found out just last night that only 1 was on duty at the time of the crash. Also, there have been safety measures at Jeju Airport that have been strengthened in response to this Muan crash, where they have decided to strengthen the safety measures, and the bird strike prevention staff have been increased from 4 to 6 in Jeju Airport, as well as the emergency response teams on 24-hour standby, and firefighters are also prepared to reach at the accidents if anything should happen within 3 minutes, as well as the patrols having been intensified.
Yes, indeed. And in terms of the search and recovery efforts at the accident site, if you could tell us about that.
Right. So last night, as of last night at about 9:07 p.m., the initial search for the passengers have ended. However, the belongings as well as the aircraft debris remain at the scene, and more search personnel withdrew overnight, leaving only a few on site, and a large crane was installed yesterday afternoon to connect parts of the aircraft. And there are fire authorities who are planning to resume searching for belongings and continue operations as soon as daylight arrives, which would be in a few hours or a few minutes as we speak.
Indeed. Well, thank you so much for connecting with us, Soyeon, as we, of course, our deepest condolences for everybody in that region as we mourn nationally. All right, everybody, once again, this was Kim Soyeon from GGN, and we're going to bring it back to the studio with Haley. What do we know about the pilots, Haley?
Right, so the pilots, neither of whom made it out of the accident. We know now that they're both Korean nationals. The main pilot, 45 years old, he has logged over 6,800 hours of flight time. His co-pilot, 35 years, 1,650 hours logged. Both do have extensive experience with this particular aircraft, the Boeing 737-800.
Yes.
So once again, as our reporter from Gwangju, Kim Soyeon, noted, the Land Ministry also flatly rejected any claims that the accident may have been caused from structural issues with the airport, in particular with the length of the landing strip.
Right.
But in any case, Jeju Airport itself, it launched this Bangkok line out of Muan Airport this month. So this is a relatively relatively new flight every Tuesday, Thursday, Saturday, and Sunday. And many people do speculate, and we are finding out from reports that a lot of the passengers were families coming back from holiday vacation.
Yes.
The authorities said that given the body of the plane has been severely damaged from the belly landing and some passengers knocked out of the plane, identification because of the damages to the bodies will take some time.
Indeed. That is what we have for you in the first hour for this Jeju air crash. But, in all of this, Korea is in politically uncharted territory right now. We have the impeachment of a president and then the impeachment of an acting president. So the big question is, what now?
Right. So to go to politics, which of course also affects the response to the tragedy right now. Well, the National Assembly last Friday, it passed the impeachment motion against acting president Han Duck-soo. So this marks the first time in the country's constitutional history that an acting president's duties have been suspended.
Right.
So the vote came to 192 yeas, as most of the People Power Party lawmakers did not attend the vote. And the opposition passed this impeachment after Han refused to appoint the 3 Constitutional Court justice nominees. And earlier in the day, the National Assembly Speaker Woo Won-sik announced that acting president, Han only needed a simple majority to be impeached.
And we're looking at what many experts are saying, a very complicated legal fight ahead.
Right. So this case, as with other impeachments, it does go up to the Constitutional Court. However, the court has said that it'll rule on the impeachment against the President Yoon Suk-yeol first. So this case will take a bit of a back seat.
Yes.
But for Han Duck-soo's case, this is a matter of numbers. That'll be the legal fight ahead. Will it be 151 versus 200? Because there's actually no clause in the Constitution that dictates how many National Assembly votes are needed to impeach an acting president. And a Constitutional Court Research Institute back in 2015 basically ruled that either standard, whether it be a 2/3 majority for a president or a simple majority for a cabinet member, is possible depending on the situation. So it's basically throwing it just back to the court.
Okay.
In the meantime, the People Power Party, the ruling party, has filed for an injunction, 효력 정지 가처분 신청, and a petition with the court.
Yes. So that's the legal front. But what happens with the government? I mean, who steps in now?
Right. So the Vice Prime Minister and the Minister of Economy and Finance, Choi Sang-mok, has stepped in and he visited Muan yesterday in the wake of the accident. However, Choi earlier did say his role as the acting president to the acting president will have to be limited and said that it is ideal to operate the government under acting president Han Duck-soo, saying that that system was stable.
Okay.
He added that an acting president to the acting president will once again have a limited role, although under the most recent circumstances, he will have to really step up.
Yes. So that's what's happening on the political front. Well, thank you for reporting on all the news, and we'll check in with you in hour number 2 for our special interview. Thank you, Haley.
Thank you.
And for now, let's get to our first song, and here it is. This is 가족 by 이승환.
걸어서 지친 하루를 되돌아오며 언제나 나를 막는 깊은 어둠과 고요히 잠든 가족들 때로는 집이 되기도 했었죠. 많은 기대와 실망 때문에 늘 곁에 있으니 늘 벗어나고도 싶고 어떻게 해야 내가 나의 마음들을 그냥 말하고 싶지만 어색하기만 하죠. 힘이 들어 쉬어가고 싶을 때면 나의 위로가 돼. 그때쯤 이제의 힘이 된 고마운 사랑들 어떻게 해야 내가 부모님의 맘에 들 수가 있을지 모르고 살아가는 나의 마음들을 그냥 말하고 싶지만 어색하기만 하죠.
All right, welcome back, everybody. So today we've been talking about wrapping up the year 2024 because it's that time of year where we tie up loose ends, as they say. And on that note, we wanted to ask if you had anything to relate to your loved ones. And that's kind of a broad category. That can include family or someone, you romantically love, or maybe your second family, like, our BFM family, not trying to be all cliche and all, like that on you. But if there's anything you want to get off your chest before we wrap up the year, now would be a good time, is the whole topic thing today. Well, looking at some of your messages, Michael says this. Michael Kim, our listener, a waiver, says, 가족과 사랑하는 이들에게 너무 사랑해 라고 말해주고 싶습니다. Yes. And so he continues later on. He sent in an additional message saying, 저희 아이들 조금 뒤에 이제 일어나면 그냥 지금 이대로 잘 자라줘서 고맙다고, 사랑한다고 아침 인사해줘야겠습니다. So his kids are going to get up soon. I think he relayed, he has a 14-year-old son. Let's see if my memory's good enough. 14-year-old son and a 10-year-old daughter. And they're going to get up soon. And he's, when they wake up, he's going to say, you know what? Just continue growing the way you've been, growing up is all I can ask for, which is a really nice sentiment. And so that's what we're talking about today, just sharing things we want to say before the end of the year. All right, I'll read more of your messages in a little bit, but I'll be back with our Michael in just a moment.
Stay tuned. You're listening to Morning Wave in Busan.
It is time for Showbiz Buzz. We have another Michael Kang. Michael Kang in the studio with us. So it is Monday, of course. Good morning.
Good morning.
Yes. Before we ask you about the text topic, is there anything you would like to say?
Yes, well, definitely. So much things have been happening, and first off, I really have to say I want to send my sincerest condolences to all those affected by the national tragedy that took place at the Muan International Airport.
Right, the Jeju Air flight.
It's unimaginable how the families and the people affected would be feeling at this moment. It's outrageous and like unbelievable still for a lot of people, I'm sure, and it is painful times, and I just want to be with them in heart and spirit. So I'm just gonna be praying for them, so my sincerest condolences to them. In all seriousness, it's a very, very sad day for all of us.
It is. It is, and I think for a lot of us, like yesterday when we first heard the news or saw it on your, probably got alerts on your phone. It was just like, really, what? It's a tough time.
Yes, it is.
Well, do you have anything you want to say to your loved ones, whether it's family or colleagues or significant other?
Yeah. So with that being said, I just get to look back on the things that I cherish.
Yes.
Sometimes for granted, So it's like, every time, like sometimes I'm too busy with life to think about the things that I should be grateful for.
Yes.
And should be thankful for. And I think this is a very critical time for all of us to look back on what we have and what we have been enjoying so far, and we have to be grateful for what we have at this very moment. And as the message that the waiver sent us did it just now, we have to let the people know around us that we love them and that we will always be with them.
Yes.
Whether it be good or bad times, regardless, we'll be with them and we'll always love them, So I think that time of reminder is what we need at this very moment. Yeah.
And I wish we had some happy news to report from the get-go, but our first story.
Yeah.
Another passing.
So actress Olivia Hussey, who was brought to international prominence as a teenager for her role in the acclaimed 1968 film Romeo and Juliet, has passed away, aged 73 on Friday. So Hussey is famous for winning the Best New Actress Golden Globe for her part as Juliet in the movie. But she is also famous for suing Paramount Pictures afterwards for sexual abuse, as she was aged just 15 when she filmed the movie's nude scene. So many things happened for her. Her other most notable screen role was as Mary, Mother of Jesus, in 1977 TV mini-series Jesus of Nazareth.
Yes.
Hussey was born in Buenos Aires, Argentina in 1951. She moved to London aged 7 and studied at the Italia Conti Academy Drama School. She was cast as Juliet for that film alongside British 16-year-old Leonard Whiting as Romeo in the film. The film was nominated for Oscar for Best Picture and Director.
Yes.
Hussey missed out on an Oscar nomination herself at that year because that year was when Barbara Streisand won the main award for Funny Girl. So it was a very strong year for her. But at that year's Golden Globes, Hussey won the award for Best New Star. So on Friday, her Instagram said on a statement that she passed away surrounded by her loved ones.
Yes. So indeed, she shot to fame with that role, but ironically, that she sued Paramount Pictures because of that role as well.
Yeah, 15 years old is way too young. Yeah, and I think back then and now it's very different, right? The practices of filming.
Yes,
but
changes have been made, but nonetheless, 15 in whatever era, that's still young.
Exactly,
really
but
young.
Anyhow, we remember her as we will remember her as the beautiful Juliet.
Yes. All right. Let's move on and talk about this show, Squid Game Season 2.
Yes. Squid Game Season 2 is now on air. Netflix's Squid Game series, the newest one, has ranked number 1 on a global popularity chart for TV shows available on the streaming giant, just one after its release. So Netflix's Korean original series, Squid Game Season 2, top streaming analytics website Flix Patrol's global chart for top TV shows on Netflix on Friday after its release the previous day.
Yes.
So among 93 countries compiled by Flix Patrol, Squid Game was the most viewed TV show on the streaming service in 92 nations.
Wow.
Including South Korea, the United States, France, Mexico, Britain, and Hong Kong. It plays second only in New Zealand.
Oh, interesting.
Yes.
New Zealand.
The new season follows protagonist Ki-hun, played by Lee Jung-jae, who abandons his plans to leave for the U.S. after winning the lethal competition.
That's right.
And instead he returns to Korea with an unwavering mission to end the deadly games forever. This first season of the Korean thriller made waves at the 79th Golden Globes in 2022, earning 3 nominations: Best TV Drama, Best Actor for Lee Jung-jae, and Best Supporting Actor for Oh Young-soo.
That's right.
Yeah.
So, definitely making waves this time around as well.
But how the newest season is being accepted by the audience, it's kind of mixed, right?
Right, there are mixed
mixed
reviews.
responses, mixed reviews. But nonetheless, many people agree that season 2 is, I guess, a pavement basically leading up to season 3.
Yes.
Which many believe it's going to be the climax and the end result for the
Finale.
whole Squid Game trilogy.
Yes. So, we're just going to leave it at that because we don't want to, give away any spoilers. Some people haven't watched it yet. So we'll just leave it at that.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right. What's our next item? What's our next issue?
Yeah, so next issue is something that it's a food for thought, I guess, something we can think about. So Korea is finding itself at the center of a political storm and for the past month, and it was ignited by President Yoon Suk-yeol's botched attempt to declare emergency martial law on December 3rd.
Yes.
This turmoil didn't just reverberate through politics, it sent shockwaves through the economy, sparked international discourse, and even impacted the entertainment industry. And celebrities, for sure, were not immune to this. While freedom of expression is often considered a given, Korean stars frequently find themselves treading a more delicate line.
Yes.
For example, singer Lee Tae-yeon faced backlash after showing support for her fans' participation in President Yoon's impeachment protest on December 7th. Her Instagram was flooded with both supportive and hateful comments. Despite the criticism, she posted a photo of herself attending the rally that Saturday. I guess, I don't know if this applies to other countries, but at least in South Korea,
yes,
there is a higher moral expectation placed on celebrities.
That's right.
And that complicates the celebrity's decision to speak out on political or social issues because basically all people, there are a variety, a diverse spectrum of audiences and fans who want so many different things for a single celebrity. And it is very difficult for celebrities to make the right decision. So for stars, speaking out or staying silent
they get criticized either which
can
way.
both be seen as wrong, right? So while some urge celebrities to remain neutral, others condemn them for not using their platforms to speak up and puts them in a very precarious position.
Right.
So one, I guess I'll just end with this example. So on December 8th, a list of film industry signatories was released, including prominent figures such as Parasite director 봉준호 감독님 and Decision to Leave director Park Chan-wook, along with actors like Moon So-ri and Ko, among others. But there was also a counter list that got released. It was dubbed the Celebrity List, which called out on those who were not signatories. Who went for impeachment. So including actors Lee Byung-hun, Jung Hae-in, Jung Woo-sung, and Ha Jung-woo. So, people are making these counter lists and lists, of people, and they're so busy dividing who participated in what and who did not participate in what. And this is a whole, I guess, creates a very, very confusing environment for celebrities to make their own political expression in a country where, as mentioned earlier, freedom of expression is legally protected.
Right.
So it's something that we can think about. So like, is it okay or is it not okay to have singers or other celebrities join in this expression of politics?
Right, and then they're reading into it like, oh, he or she didn't sign this or didn't sign that, which may or may not go along with what you believe in personally. Are we reading too much into it?
Exactly. Something like recently when Im Young-woo, another singer, was embroiled in a controversy after one of his DMs, direct messages, got released. He didn't want to be a part of any political discourse, but one of his fans wanted to force him out into making a political statement on this matter, and this became a controversy for him as well. So are we allowed to force people to resort to freedom of expression? It's a very difficult issue that we need to think about.
It is a different atmosphere, though, here versus maybe in other countries. So it's a very sensitive kind of gray area in many situations, right?
Yeah.
Well, let's move on to our next item. So this was regarding a K-pop star.
Yes. Police recently launched an official investigation into a Winner's member. So Winner is a boy band.
Yes.
Winner member Song Min-ho's alleged dereliction of military duties or 근무태만. So he just got discharged from the military. But there were controversies that came up that during his military service or alternate military service, there was a lot of evidence that lead to his dereliction of his duties.
So the alleged reports say that he wasn't taking his job seriously.
Exactly.
That he wasn't really doing what he was supposed to be doing.
Exactly.
Is what they're accusing him of.
Exactly. So the Mapo Police Precinct has launched an official investigation into this. While the Military Manpower Administration or 병무청 has closed its probe. So that came out on local media on Thursday. So basically, 병무청 or Military Manpower Administration closed the probe since now the police probe came to being, and police probe is more accurate.
Yes.
So they decided to stop it. So local media outlet Dispatch reported on the morning of December 17th that Song Min-ho had been taking advantage of his connection with an official to overuse his military leave. So I think that was the start of everything.
Yes.
The official mentioned in the report holds a high-ranking position at the community facility where Min-ho is fulfilling his military duty as a social service agent.
Yes.
Song Min-ho anyways began his military service on March 24th last year and was discharged on Monday. So we'll see if we'll see how the investigation goes and see if there is a possibility to bring him back to military service.
We'll follow this story, but thank you for all the showbiz buzz, and we'll check in with you next year. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you.
This is Michael, and it is time for our final song for hour number 1. So this is You Give Me Something by James Morrison.
You wanna stay with me in the morning. You only hold me when I sleep. And I was meant to tread the water, but now I've gotten in too deep. For every piece of me that wants you, another piece backs away. Something that makes me scared, alright. This could be nothing, but I'm willing to give it a try. Please give me something for hours just to spend a little time alone with me. And I could say I've never bought you flowers. I can't work out what they mean. I never thought that I'd love someone that was someone else's dream. You give me something that makes me scared, alright. This could be my thing, but I'm willing to give it a try. Please give me something.
Your bridge to the world. BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
부산의 축제 어디까지 즐겨보셨나요? 과거와 현재, 미래가 공존하는 항구도시 부산. 이곳 부산은 계절을 물들이는 다양한 축제로 늘 풍성합니다. 봄의 시작을 알리는 봄꽃 축제부터 부산의 여름을 만끽하는 바다축제, 전 세계 영화인들이 모이는 부산국제영화제와 새로운 시작의 해맞이 축제까지. 부산의 축제는 우리의 열정을 가득 담고 있습니다. 바쁜 일상은 잠시 뒤로하고 특별한 시간을 선물 받는 바로 이곳 부산에서 우리의 삶은 축제가 됩니다. 축제로 하나 되는 부산, 여러분은 어떤 축제를 기다리시나요? 이 캠페인은 대선공익재단과 BFM 부산 영어방송이 함께합니다.
혹시 지금 운전 중이신가요? 어린이 교통사고 피해자 수는 지난 3년 평균 약 9만 명. 특히 어린이 보호구역 안전기준이 강화된 이후에도 어린이 보호구역 내 사고는 지속적으로 발생하고 있습니다. 스쿨존에서는 반드시 시속 30km 이하 서행, 스쿨존 내 불법 주정차 금지, 차량 출발 전 앞뒤 좌우 살피는 습관으로 어린이가 안전한 도시를 만듭니다. 참, 운전 중 휴대전화 사용은 모두에게 위험합니다. 우리 모두를 위한 교통안전, 나부터 실천하면 모두가 안전해집니다. 어린이가 안전하게 뛰어놀 수 있는 부산. 아이 키우기 좋은 도시는 우리 모두의 미래이자 희망입니다. 이 캠페인은 어린이가 안전한 부산을 만드는 은행, B&K 부산은행과 함께합니다.
We are
the firefighter duo.
Winter is so dry. Let's prevent fire by keeping these 3 rules. If you take caution, you can prevent a fire.
The number one cause of fire in winter are electric blankets. Take special caution with highly flammable materials such as memory foam, toppers, and bedding.
Number 2, having too many appliances on the power outlet is dangerous. Always unplug all the appliances that you're not currently using.
Number 3, check the heater is off before leaving the house. Leaving it on for an extended period of time can cause a fire.
Let's all take part in preventing fire and have warm and safe winter this year.
Tune into BEFM 부산 영어 방송 for an emergency broadcast.
This campaign is brought to you by BEFM 부산 영어 방송.
지금 방송 광고라는 부메랑을 던져보세요. 소비자를 향해 정확히 날아가는 광고. 힘차게 돌아가는 경제. 부메랑처럼 다시 기업의 이익으로 되돌아오니까요. 방송 광고, 경제에 큰 힘이 됩니다. 부산 방송광고발전협의회.
The time is now 8 o'clock.
Good morning.
Dynamic
dynamic Busan.
Yeah, you're waking up. Time to shake it up. Tell the world good morning and find out what's going on.
Well, hi there, folks. There's everything from comedy to lively chat to music.
Broadcasting from a room about the size of your closet.
All calls are recorded.
What show is this?
Live from Korea's dynamic city, this is Morning Wave in Busan.
I'm sorry, who'd you say you were?
It is now 8 o'clock and this is news highlights. 179 confirmed dead in Jeju airplane crash in Wuhan. A passenger jet carrying 181 people belly landed and exploded at an airport in the southwestern county of Wuhan yesterday, killing 179 with 2 others having been rescued, authorities said. It is the deadliest aviation accident ever on South Korean soil and the third most fatal by death toll involving a South Korean airline. A temporary morgue has been set up inside the Wuhan airport to lay the bodies of the victims. The authorities are working to identify the victims, but the funeral proceedings may take some time. National mourning period underway over Jeju air crash. Acting President Choi Sang-mok announced a 7-day national mourning period over the deadly Jeju airplane crash, extending deepest condolences to the bereaved families yesterday. Choi also designated the southwestern county of Muan as a special disaster zone eligible for state support following a deadly plane crash. The Land Ministry's Aviation and Railway Accidents Investigation Team has begun looking into the accident, and the prosecution also formed an accident response headquarters, pledging support for the victims and their families, as well as a thorough investigation into the cause of the accident. Jeju Air vows all-out efforts to cope with the accident. Jeju Air said it will spare no effort to cope with a deadly plane crash, saying it is currently working to determine the exact cause and details of the situation. The airline said that the aircraft in question was in operation for 15 years with no history of accidents. Boeing, the manufacturer of the 737-800 aircraft, said that it was in contact with Jeju Air and stand ready to support the airline, extending its deepest condolences to the families. Yoon ignores third summons for martial law questioning. President Yoon Suk-yeol yesterday refused to appear for questioning at the Corruption Investigation Office for High-Ranking Officials, or CIO, for the third time, raising the likelihood of an arrest warrant by the agency. Yoon's legal representative said the CIO does not have the authority to investigate insurrection charges against Yoon, nor does it have the right to apply for a court warrant to arrest him. The CIO is expected to make a decision on whether to issue a fourth summons or file for the first ever arrest warrant against the sitting president as early as today. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter dies at 100. Former U.S. President Jimmy Carter, philanthropist and winner of the Nobel Peace Prize, has died at the age of 100. Carter's one-term presidency was highlighted by forging peace between Israel and Egypt, but was overshadowed by the Iran hostage crisis. He redefined the post-presidential reputation through his and wife Rosalind Carter's work at the Carter Center in Atlanta and its philanthropic causes such as Habitat for Humanity. And this was News Highlights. All right, listeners, we're going to get straight into our special interview, first of 2 interviews today. And by the way, today's interview will be conducted in Korean, and Haley, she will be translating for us as well. So we all know this, that the tragedy, it struck Muan International Airport yesterday morning with the Jeju airplane crash. 179 people have been confirmed dead, with victims as young as toddlers returning from what was supposed to be a vacation in Thailand. There are so many questions right now left unanswered, many of which will take months, if not years, given the nature of these types of accidents. And so let's go through what we know so far with an expert. He's going to walk us through and try to make sense of what happened. And so please know that, given the gravity of the situation, once again, we do have a Korean expert on air, and the interview will be conducted once again in both English and Korean. 안녕하세요, 교수님.
네, 안녕하세요.
And to our listeners out there, this is Professor Choi In-chan, Professor of Aeronautical Science at Silla University, a former Air Force major and a veteran pilot of 38 years. So first, what do we know about the possible cause of the crash?
교수님, 이번 사고 원인에 대해서 알려진 바는 있나요?
네, 저는 신라대학교 항공운항학과 최인찬 교수입니다. 말씀드린 대로 이 기본 피해 상황을 살펴보면은 29일 날 태국 방콕 출발해서 전남 무안 국제공항에 착륙하던 그 제주항공이 동체착륙으로 인해 불시착 후에 폭발해서 이 사고로 약 181명 중 뒤쪽에서 근무했던 승무원 2명을 제외한 179명이 사망한 사고입니다. 그래서 안타까운데 이 사고는 우리나라 국내에서 발생된 사고 중엔 최다고, 우리 국적사가 발생한 사고 중에서는 1997년도 미국 괌공항에서 대한항공 여객기가 추락 사고로 인해서 229명이 안타깝게 숨진 사고가 있었죠. 그 이후로 아마 두 번째 인명 피해가 난 사고가 아닐까 생각됩니다.
All right, so to go over the damages first, this was, of course, the Jeju Air crash after the aircraft belly landed and exploded, leaving 179 dead. In terms of accidents, aircraft accidents that happened domestically, this was the biggest casualty. Looking at domestic airlines abroad as well, this is shaping up to be the second biggest casualty count following the 1997 Korean Airlines accident departing from Guam Airport, which left 229 dead.
Yes, indeed. And authorities say that the plane, Professor, attempted to do what's called a go-around landing after the plane's landing gear apparently did not come down. What does this mean? What does this indicate?
네, 교수님, 이 비행기가 랜딩 기어를 내리지 못하고 복행하는 과정에서 사고가 난 것으로 추정된다는 국토부의 브리핑이 있었는데요. 이 복행 그리고 랜딩 기어 미작동이라는 것의 의미 설명 부탁드립니다.
네. 비행기가 복행하는 과정, 복행하는 고고를 안 되죠. 복행 과정에 사고가 났다고 추정이 되는데, 통상 이 복행, 고고를 안 두는 거는 이 항공기가 안전한 접근 착륙이 수행되지 않았을 때 실시하는 이게 정상적인 절차입니다. 그래서 이 항공 운항 규정에 의하면은, 통상적으로 두 구역을 나누는데, 시기의 비행 상태, 즉 VMC라고 얘기하는데, Visual Meteorological Condition, 즉 시기의 비행 상태 하에서는 500피트 상공에서, 계기 비행 조건에서는 이것을 IMC 상태라고 얘기하는데, Instrument Meteorological Condition에서 계기 비행 상태 하에서는 1000피트 상공에서 항공기가 안정적이지 않으면은, 안정적이라 표현하면 스테이블라이저 상태인데, 즉 속도, 고도, 헤딩 이런 것들이 정상적으로 정확히 유지가 되지 않으면은 공이 어라운드를 하라고 되어 있습니다. 그래서 이거는 물론 관제사 지시에 의해서 수행할 수도 있는데, 이건 전적으로 조종사 판단에 의해 수행되기 때문에 조종사의 적절한 결정이 매우 중요하죠. 따라서 이번 사고에 언급되는 이런 복행 때문에 또는 복행을 해서 사고가 유발되었다 하는 데 대해서는 저는 동의를 할 수는 없고요. 두 번째, 랜딩 기어를 내리지 못하고 착륙했는데 이게 무슨 상황인가 하면은 통상 비행기가 착륙을 위해서 내려야 할 때는 기본적으로 사용하는 게 랜딩 기어와 플랩스라는 보조 양력 장치입니다. 이 장치들을 구동시키는 시스템이 유압이라는 시스템이 있는데 이 유압은 하이드롤릭 프레셔 시스템입니다. 이 장치가 작동을 하지 않은 것이죠. 그래서 이 모든 민간 항공기는 이런 제작 시에 이런 상황을 가상에 두어서 반드시 first, second, third까지 예비 장치를 구현할 수 있도록 설계에 반영이 되어 있습니다. 또한 이 조종사들도 이런 상황에 대비해서 매년 훈련을 또 충실히 받고 있죠. 그런데 이번 사고 경우는 이러한 장치들이 전혀 구동되지 않아서 항공기가 동체 착륙을 할 수밖에 없었고 또 이 활주로의 정상적인 착륙 접지 구역 이것은 이제 통상 스레스홀드라고 얘기합니다. 활주로 시작 지점부터 3,000피트까지 그 구역에 착지를 해야 되는데 넘어서 중간에 이후에 반이상 착지됐기 때문에 속도가 많은 상태에서 활주로 넓은 활주로상에서 안전하게 정지시키지 못하고 오버런해서 밖쪽 활주로 등화 관제 시설에 있는 구역에 충돌을 해서 안타까운 인명사고가 났죠. 그래서 결론적으로 말씀드리면은 통상적으로 이 항공기는 착륙 후에 제동할 수 있는 장치는 여러 가지가 있습니다. 특히 세 가지가 있는데 대표적으로 브레이킹 시스템 그리고 리버스 스러스트 시스템 그리고 또한 에어 브레이크 시스템이 있는데 이 세 개가 모두 작동을 하지 않습니다. 오로지 활주로에서 착륙할 때에는 동체 착륙을 할 때에는 동체와 활주로 표면의 마찰력에 의해서만 정지를 시킬 수가 있기 때문에 안타깝게 속도 처리가 안 돼서 일어난 사고가 되겠습니다.
All right. To paraphrase, first with the what was now being referred to as a potential go-around accident, the expert's conclusion is that it was not an accident that was caused by the attempt at go-around landing, because this go-around landing is a perfectly normal procedure. It's a safe approach when certain things don't work that they're normally supposed to, and this is a part of aviation safety, and this is something that you do in unstable conditions. And please keep in mind I'm paraphrasing. But going back to the issue, the briefing that some of the landing gear did not work properly, that it seems did happen. The normal landing gear, the wheels and the flaps on the wings, it seems that the hydraulic pressure system that's supposed to put them into effect did not work. And because of these civilian aircrafts, they have first, second, third gears, and pilots go through extensive training for any sort of emergencies. But it seems that even with these, the gear did not work, and this is what prompted the belly landing. But because it was coming in such high speed, it did not land where it was supposed to on the landing strip. And during such belly landing, it is purely the friction between the airstrip on the tarmac and the belly of the plane that's supposed to stop the plane. But as we can tell, that did not work either.
Right. So, Professor, there's a lot of speculation right now as to what may have been the cause, and I know it's very on in the investigation once again. The fire agency, they are saying that this might have been caused by what's known as a bird strike. So generally speaking, how common are bird strikes, and are they able to cause such fatal accidents?
네, 교수님 아직까지 원인에 대해서 확실한 바는 없지만 소방청은 어제 조류, 즉 세대 충돌도 있었다라는 추정을 내놓았습니다. 이 bird strike, 세대 충돌이 비행에서 흔한 상황이고 또 이렇게까지 치명적일 수 있는지 말씀해 주시죠.
네, 세대 충돌도 치명적일 수가 있죠, 당연히. 그래서 통상적으로 우리가 볼 때 조류 활동은 대개 지상에서 서피스트 5,000피트 이하에서 많이 활동이 이루어지고 있습니다. 이 구간인 이 항공기가 이착륙하는 주요 단계이죠. 따라서 이 비행기가 접근이나 이륙 중 많은 버드 스트라이크 상황이 발생하고 있죠. 또 보고도 많이 되고 있고요. 간단히 예를 들어 보면은 2016년에 영화화 되기도 했죠. 이 허드슨 강의 기적에서 보듯이 2009년 이 사건은 2009년 US 에어웨이즈의 에어 320 에어버스죠. A320 항공기가 이 버드 스트라이크로 인해서 보스 엔진이 다 작동 불능이 돼서 허드슨 강에 한 명의 인명사고도 없이 아주 불시착한 아주 기적적인 사례가 있었죠. 우리나라의 경우를 보더라도 특히 겨울철에는 철새의 이동 경로 선상에 있는 지역에서 이 대형의 철새떼가 많이 관측되고 있습니다. 공이라든지 아니면 기러기라든지 이런 대형의 철새떼는 굉장히 항공기에 위협 상황이 발생이 될 수가 있죠. 그래서 굉장히 더더욱 위험할 수 있다고 보면 됩니다. 이와 관련해서 각 공항에서는 조류 퇴치반이라는 것도 별도 운영 유지를 하고 있는데 이것은 사실 조류 퇴치하기 위해서는 거의 불가항력적이라고 보시면 되고요. 많은 이 남해안에 있는 해변가, 특히 해변가에 위치하고 있는 공항에서 이런 버드 스트라이크에 관련된 사례가 많이 보고가 되고 있습니다. 그리고 이 조류 퇴치를 위한 활동도 많이 수행을 하고 있는 상황입니다. 이상입니다.
Right. So bird strike, of course, they can be fatal because the altitude at which these birds fly, they are also the same altitudes at which airplanes take off and land. Of course, there's a famous 2009 case, the so-called Miracle on the Hudson River, where the bird strike, it killed off both engines of this aircraft and the pilot had to make an emergency landing. In terms of South Korea, during the wintertime, we do have large flocks of migrating birds, and they can pose threats to airplanes. And airports, they do have separate teams in charge of chasing these bird flocks. However, as they are forces of nature, they sometimes can be inevitable. But geographically, these coastal airports on the southern coast, they do see high number of birds and therefore conduct many of these bird chasing activities.
Yes. So a follow-up question, Professor, regarding, possible bird strikes or issues with the birds. So at Muan International Airport, do we know if there was proper work or there was enough of a safety team that gave warning about the birds or the possible bird strikes to this particular plane?
네, 교수님 말씀하신 것처럼 이제 공항들에는 새떼 조류 퇴치 활동이 이루어지고 있고 그런 팀들이 있다라고 하셨는데 저희가 현재 아는 바로는 어제 무안 공항에서 이런 퇴치 활동이 제대로 이루어진 것으로 보이나요?
네, 그 조류 퇴치반이라는 거는 공안의 배트 팀이라고 그래요. 유지하고 있는데 공식적인 운영 조직입니다. 그래서 또한 무안공항 말씀드린 대로 무안공항의 위치가 철새 이동 경로 지역 선상에 있는 공항이기 때문에 반드시 활동 조치가 이루어졌다고 봐야 되고요. 또한 그렇게 상황에 활동을 하고 있을 겁니다. 내가 눈으로 보지는 못했지만은 왜냐하면 공식적인 조직체이기 때문에 아무래도 활동을 안 할 수가 없죠. 그래서 우리는 일반적으로 정상적인 활동 조치가 이루어졌다고 봐주는 것이 타당할 겁니다.
All right, so according to the expert, whom of course did not see what happened on the ground, but there are these bird teams, the chasing teams or batting teams that are in the official capacity of the airport. So right now we do have to assume that normal operations did go underway.
Yes, yes. And Professor, we do have actually a question that we want to pose to you from one of our listeners of the several questions coming in. 이거는 랜딩 작동돼서 이제 질문이 들어왔는데요. There's a question regarding the landing gear itself. So is there a way where it can be tested actually in flight, where the testing gear, the landing gear can be tested before the actual landing of the plane is a question that is being posed right now?
네, 교수님, 저희 청취자 질문이 들어왔는데요. 비행을 하는 도중에 랜딩 기어가 작동이 안 되는 것이 확인이 된다면 그것을 이제 수동으로 비행 당시에 체크를 할 수 있는지 또 수동으로 할 수 있는 조치가 있는지에 대한 질문이 들어왔습니다.
네, 아주 적절한 질문인데요. 앞서 말씀드린 대로 모든 항공기 시스템은 프라이머리, 세컨더리, 서드까지 3차 예비 시스템까지 장착이 되어 있는데 통상 이런 랜딩 기어가 구동이 되지 않는 상황을 인지했을 경우 조종사가 반드시 처치 사항이 따로 있습니다. 그 체크리스트라든지 이머전시 시큐어링 체크리스트라든지 그런 것을 수행을 해야 되는데 언론에 발표된 바에 의하면은 통상 조종사가 메이데이, 이머전시 디클레이션을 선포를 하고 그리고 바로 착륙한 단계 2분 정도밖에 안 됐다고 얘기합니다. 그건 뭘 의미하냐면은 바로 조종사가 긴박하게 이러한 2분이라 하면은 이러한 시큐링 체크리스트라든지 어떠한 비정상 상황에 대처하는 예비 절차가 수행할 수 있는 충분한 시간적인 여유가 확보가 안 됐다는 말씀을 드리고 싶습니다. 그래서 안타깝지만은 이런 것들은 이제 항공기 사고 조사 활동을 통해서 적절히 분석이 되겠지만은 다만 추론할 수 있다는 것은 이러한 장치가 구동이 안 됐을 때 이에 대한 조종사들은 대비 훈련을 충분히 받아왔었고 그렇게 정상적으로 수행을 했다면은 아무 문제가 없었지 않나 하고 조심스럽게 판단을 해봅니다.
All right, so according to our expert, all aircrafts, as you mentioned, they have primary, secondary, even tertiary landing systems. However, and then when they don't work and the pilot acknowledges it, he or she, they do go through emergency security measures and checklists. However, according to reports, we are hearing that between when the pilot declared Mayday and sent the distress signal and the attempted landing, there were only about 2 minutes. So our experts' analysis is that there simply wasn't enough time to conduct all the responses that one would go through during such abnormal conditions. Of course, future investigations will reveal what happened, but we can only speculate that the pilot did have plenty of training, but this was an unfortunate incident with very bad timing.
Well, for now, if we can turn our attention, Professor, to the aircraft itself, it's been reported that this was a Boeing 737-800. What do we know about the aircraft?
네, 교수님이 사고 여객기 이제 보잉 737-800 여객기라고 알려졌는데요. 이 기체에 대해서 알려진 바는 어떤 것이 있을까요?
통상적으로 어제 제가 매스컴에서도 인터뷰를 해봤지만은 이 사고 여객 보잉 항공기 737-800 항공기가 몇 해 전 엔진에 트러블이 있었다. 그런 보도가 있었고 이 관계에 대해서 어떠한 개연성이 있지 않을까 하고 의심사항이 발생이 되어서 나한테 질문을 한 게 있었는데 제가 볼 때는 거의 이런 정비 목적, 정비 사항이라든지 737 항공기에 대한 특성에 대해서는 거의 이번 사건과 개연성이 없다고 보는 게 아마 타당할 겁니다. 예전 정비 결함이 이번 사건을 유발시켰다든지 어떤 연관이 있지 않다든지 하는 것은 개연성이 없다고 보는 게 타당하고요. 또한 한편에서는 통상 LCC 항공사는 이 대형 항공사보다 아시아나 대한항공 같이 대형 항공사가 안전하지 않다는 선입견이 종종 표현을 하곤 합니다. 근데 사실 이거는 사실과 정반대되는 얘기겠죠. 왜냐하면은 이 모든 항공사는 특히 정비도 마찬가지 국가기관의 관리 감독 하에서 이 정비를 포함한 적절한 시스템을 구비하고 유지하고 운영을 해야 됩니다. 특히 정비 문제에 있어서는 어떤 기종을 떠나서 737이든 에어버스 320이건 기본적으로 MEL 항목이라는 게 있어요. MEL은 Minimum Equipment List라 그래서 운항 전에 반드시 필요한 장비 목록 및 정비 수요 주기를 기록해 놓은 문서입니다. 규범이 있죠, 일종의. 그래서 이것은 관리 당국의 감독과 허가상이어서 항공사가 임의로 수정하거나 아니면 정비를 해야 되는데 생략한다거나 할 수가 없는 문제입니다. 그래서 예전 정비 문제 및 아니면 어떤 기체의 특성상 지금의 현상의 원인을 야기시켰다고 추론하는 것은 없다고는 할 수는 없겠습니다만은 너무 앞서서 추론하는 상황이라고 말씀드릴 수가 있겠습니다.
All right, so there have been reports, and the expert has been questioned about this previously, that this particular aircraft did experience engine trouble some years ago, and whether that may have had a connection. Basically, the conclusion is it's too much of a push at this point. And then there's also the perception held by some people that low-cost carriers, LCCs, may be less safe than full-service carriers like Korean Air and Asiana Airlines. However, that is also not true, because all airlines, regardless of what types they are, they go through stringent government supervision in terms of maintenance and equipment lists. So airlines must follow this.
Yes, indeed. I want to actually turn your attention, Professor, to the wall, that wall that if you saw the news, our listeners, the plane when it belly landed and it was skidding down the runway and then it hit that wall. What kind of wall was this? Is this that is very a standard type of wall? Anything you can tell us about the wall itself too?
네, 교수님 다시 무안공항으로 돌아가서요. 이 여객기가 동체 착륙을 할 시기에 이 공항의 벽과 충돌을 한 것으로 알려져 있는데요. 이 충돌한 벽에 대해서 혹시 알려줄 수 있는 게 있으실까요?
충돌한 벽은 외벽을 말씀하신 건데 외벽이라고 얘기하면은 공항 지역은 이 프로텍션 에리어로 설정돼 있어서 당연히 이 방호벽이 설치가 돼 있겠죠. 그런데 실제로 화면상도 나타나지만은 최초 충돌한 것은 활주로를 과주 즉 오버런해서 활주로는 양쪽 끝단에 어떠한 등화 시설이 되어 있냐면은 어프로칭 라이팅 시스템이라는 게 있습니다. 그것은 활주로가 이쪽 방향입니다라고 조종사에게 알려주는 특히 야간에 약 활주로 시작점 양쪽 끝단의 시작점부터 3,000피트까지 등화가 설치되어 있는데 이것은 활주로 반대 방향도 마찬가지 설치되어 있기 때문에 동체 착륙 후 속도가 많은 관계로 인해서 활주로를 오버런해서 계속 직진하다 보면은 바로 반대편 활주로의 끝단에 있는 스레스 홀드 즉 어프로치 라이팅 시스템을 설치해서 구축되어 있는 언덕에 추돌을 한 겁니다. 거기에서 추돌해서 1차 대파가 됐고 그 잔해가 튀어서 외부 공항과 외부 바깥의 경계선에 구축되어 있는 방호벽에 추돌을 한 상황이죠. 그래서 항공기가 직접적으로 돌진을 해서 벽에 추돌한 것이 아니고 그 파편에 1차 충격에 의한 파편이 담장 넘어 울타리를 밖으로까지 넘어서 스프레드가 된 거죠.
This is an important clarification. So we have heard that the plane crashed into a wall, but rather, according to the expert, the first crash was overrunning the landing strip. There are these approach lighting systems, basically the lights that guide the pilot onto the airstrip. And first, because of the high speed of the aircraft, it belly landed onto this threshold, this hill where these landing lighting systems are embedded into located.
Right.
And then it was, in fact, the debris from the initial crash that flew off and then hit the protection wall of the airport.
Yes. We do have another question from our listeners. One question saying, so you were talking about overrunning the runway, Professor. So if there was a longer airstrip or runway, would this have aided in this type of emergency landing?
네, 교수님 또 다른 청취자 질문이 들어왔는데요. 혹시 이 공항에 이 랜딩 스트립이 조금 더 길었다면, 좀 더 공간이 있었다면 랜딩에 착륙에 더 도움이 됐을까요?
네, 그것은 이제 도움이 당연히 될 수가 있겠죠. 그렇지만은 현실 여건상 활주로 길이를 무한적으로 늘릴 수는 없겠죠. 예를 들어서 지금 무안공항의 활주로 길이가 약 9,200피트, 즉 미터로는 약 2,800m 활주로입니다. 이것은 국제규격 ICAO가 정하고 있는 국제규격의 재원에 전혀 문제가 없고 어떤 재원상, 하정상, 설계상의 문제는 전혀 없는데 다만 활주로 길이가 지금 연장 공사를 하고 있다고 뉴스에 나왔지만은 더 길었다면은 이런 사고가 일어나지 않았을까? 뭐는 가능성은 충분히 있지만은 그렇다고 활주로를 무한정 길게 할 수는 없겠죠, 당연히. 그래서 아쉽지만은 그것도 하나의 기우다. 요지는 뭐냐 하면은 원인에 발생되는 원인은 정상적으로 무안공항의 활주로도 충분히 활주로를 정지할 수 있는데 어떠한 원인에 의해서 그것이 휴먼 팩터든지 아니면은 메커니컬 트러블이라든지 요인에 의해서 정상적으로 안전한 범위에 접지가 안 되고 활주로 중간 부분 이후에 접지가 된 상태에서 속도가 많기 때문에 잔여 활주로에 충분히 항공기를 마찰력에 의해서 세울 수가 없어서 발생된 사고다. 그래서 질문하신 내용대로 좀 더 활주로가 300m만 더 길었다면은 정말 아쉬움은 났지만은 그것은 사고의 인간관계에 좀 더 연계성은 없다고 말씀드릴 수가 있습니다.
All right, so of course it could have aided. However, the point is that practically the airstrips, the landing strips cannot be infinitely long. And the airstrip at Muan Airport was 9,200 feet or 2,800 meters. And that does meet the international standard. And of course, the point is, we do need to figure out what caused the distress and the problem, including any human or mechanical troubles. And the point is also that the aircraft belly landed in the middle of the airstrip rather than earlier where it would have had enough space for a safe landing. So, of course, had there been enough space, longer space on the airstrip, it may have had enough space, but that was not what caused the crash.
Yes, yes. And as we wrap up our discussion with you today, Professor, with your extensive experience in the Air Force, in the civic sector, being a veteran pilot of 38 years, and what does your gut, what factors should we be taking in from this accident as we try to figure out what happened?
네, 이제 마지막 질문으로요. 교수님께서는 군 또 민간 항공에 38년의 경력이 있으신 걸로 알고 있는데 이 전문가의 눈으로 이 사고를 어떻게 보시는지 알고 싶습니다.
네, e스포츠라고 붙여주시는데 말씀에 조금 속물스럽긴 한데 저는 아직까지 이제 e스포츠가 되기 위해서 노력하고 공부하고 하고 있습니다. 이번 사건에 대해서는 제가 예전에 공부할 때 어느 항공 관련 부서의 그 문구에 이런 글이 써 있더라고요. 항공의 역사는 피로 쓰여진 역사다라고 표현하고 있는데 참 안타깝지만은 이런 그 냉혹한 현실 앞에서 우리는 많이 준비를 해야 됩니다. 이런 항공사고가 일어나서 안 되지만은 또한 이 사고가 일어났을 때 이것을 수수방관할 수가 없겠죠. 따라서 이 철저한 항공기 사고 조사가 필요하죠. 이 항공기 사고 조사란 거는 이 사고가 발생했을 때 그 사고를 일으킨 사람에 대해서 비난을 하거나 책임을 묻기 위한 게 아니라 이 사고로 이어진 근본적인 원인을 찾아서 이 똑같은 유사 사고가 발생되지 않도록 예방하는 게 가장 중요하겠습니다. 그래서 이러한 유사 사고가 다시는 발생되지 않도록 유관 관련 기관 및 저를 포함한 모든 항공 업무 종사자들은 더 노력을 해야 되겠죠. 마지막으로 다시 한번 오늘 이번 사고로 돌아가신 유가족과 돌아가신 분들에게 상가 주의를 표합니다. 감사합니다.
All right. So, of course, he's humbly said he's studying to be an expert. However, when he was studying, he did read this, that the history of aviation is one written in blood, and that is unfortunately true. So what is really important in these accidents is that they go through thorough investigation, but it's not to find the culpable individuals or parties and criticize them, but to figure out the fundamental cause and to make measures to prevent similar accidents from happening. And this is the task for the relevant institutions and those officials within the aviation industry. And finally, he expressed his condolences.
Yes, indeed. Well, thank you so much for your expertise and time. 너무 감사드립니다, 교수님.
Thank you.
And of course, thanks to Haley as well for translating back and forth between Korean and English. And so there you have it, our first interview regarding this Jeju air crash. And we'll be back in just a moment. And this is One Sweet Day by Boyz II Men.
Sorry, I've never told you all I wanted to say, and now it's too late to hold you, 'cause you've flown away, so far away.
Never had I
showed you.
I never showed you.
Assumed you'd always be there.
I thought you'd always be there.
I took your presence for granted, but I always cared. And I miss the love we shared.
Welcome back, listeners. This has been a very interesting year, we'll just put it. And in 2024, South Korea's healthcare system underwent transformative changes amid significant challenges. And of course, there is the nationwide doctors' strike in February that sparked debates and legislative reforms expanding nurses' roles and substantial investments aimed at strengthening care for severe illnesses as well. So hosting global healthcare conferences further highlighted South Korea's commitment to advancing medical innovation and international collaboration. So we're going to take a look back on this year and take a kind of a 2024 medical review. So we have on the line with us, Dr. Alice Tan, internist at Seoul Ms. Medi Hospital. Let's say hi to her right now. Hi, welcome back.
Good morning. Thank you for having me.
Yes. To start off our conversation, Dr. Tan, could you tell us about one of what you think the number one significant healthcare issue or public health initiative that really shaped South Korea in 2024?
Well, before I begin today, I would like to offer my condolences to all of the bereaved family members and wish a speedy recovery to the survivors of the Jeju airline plane accident yesterday. Now, to answer your question, without a doubt, the government's proposed policy package for essential medical fields that was released in February of 2024 and that led to the ongoing walkout of thousands of doctors in training in South Korea was the number one healthcare issue in South Korea during this last year. Although the initiative shed light on the discrepancies in healthcare delivery between rural and urban areas, and also on the alarming deficiencies in the number of physicians in certain essential medical specialties, such as pediatrics and emergency medicine, the proposed increase in the medical school admission quota threatened the quality of medical education and was seen by most medical educators and practicing physicians as irrational and somewhat self-defeating. So for almost 1 year, the Korean public, medical school students, resident physicians, and attending physicians at academic medical centers were subject to really a great amount of disruption. And doctors in general were subject to the government's costly propaganda smear campaign. In retrospect, when we review what happened in light of the recent failed martial law declaration of impeached President Yoon, I think the entire fiasco makes a little bit of sense. But that being said, as I mentioned, the healthcare reform policy package did address some very important issues that need to be solved going forward. And hopefully we will be able to solve these issues in a cooperative and deliberate manner going forward.
Indeed, that was the biggest news, of course, healthcare-wise. If you had to choose just one other issue, what would it be that really, caught your attention this year, Dr. Tan?
Perhaps the second most impactful event or issue was the continued demographic shrinkage of the Korean population and the history-making low birth rate. We would say the record-breaking low birth rate of our country. Of course, South Korea is not alone in dealing with the trend towards low fertility rates, but grappling with the socioeconomic consequences of a shrinking ethnically Korean population, such as the labor shortage and dependence on foreign migrant workers, and the predicted fall in property prices due to a reversal of supply and demand, will have more and more palpable, significant impacts on our society in the coming years. And in terms of dependence on robotics, and what we need to do with, say, schools and universities that are having to shut down because of lack of students. I mean, these are all issues that will impact our society in major ways going forward.
Indeed. Well, do you think that, what do you think needs to be done to address the issues that you just spoke about to be effectively addressed?
So in terms of the healthcare policy, I think we need to build a committee, a coalition of stakeholders that's representative of all of the parties that will be involved to come up with in-depth solutions to each issue that was brought up in the policy reform. The policy reform package, it was really when it came out, I read through the entire very, very short document. It's only 19 pages. And I thought the issues that were addressed were very salient, relevant, but there was really no meat. There was a lack of content. In other words, each policy pillar, should have been backed up by literally hundreds of pages of documents in terms of the research, the background, and a plan for how the policies were going to be implemented. But all we had were 19 pages. For the last year, there has really not been an expansion of this policy due to all of the controversy that it caused. So I'm hoping that we can get, academics and then people who are in the field, as I mentioned, all of the stakeholders, so resident physician representatives, people in all the different levels of practice in medicine, involved in producing a document and policy that deals with all of the issues. In terms of the fertility rate, I know that the South Korean government has poured a lot of money into trying to encourage people to have more children. I think that's also important, but also sort of dealing with this reality from a more pragmatic perspective. Now that we anticipate a shrinking population, how are we going to transition from a mostly mono-ethnic country? Up until this point, we were a majority Korean, ethnically Korean, speaking Korean language. How are we going to transition to a more multi-ethnic country and integrate migrants in a productive and a safe and sort of a harmonious manner going forward? I think that's something that new, is a new frontier for our country.
Yes, yes. And as we wrap up the year 2024 and look ahead to next year, 2025, it's coming up in just a couple days, Dr. Tan. What would you like to say to our listeners and the broader public when it comes to anything related to healthcare or medicine?
So there are 3 areas where I hope to see improvement specifically in the healthcare landscape in our country. One is the issue of increased cases of cancer among young people, such as colorectal cancer or breast cancer in patients younger than 50 years old. So I hope that people are aware that this is an issue and that they are doing all of the health screening that is recommended and actually mandated under Korean national healthcare law, so that they get their screening checks done. And then we also come up with a reason for why we are seeing this alarming trend in young cancer. The other issue is food safety and quality, specifically ultra-processed foods and microplastics in our food sources. I think this is something that has not received as much attention in South Korea as perhaps in other countries, and it is something that needs to be addressed. Next, the expanded availability of a class of medicines called GLP-1 receptor agonists, such as semaglutide, more commonly known by the brand names Ozempic and Wegovy, is anticipated to cause dramatic changes in the rates of obesity and the management of diabetes in South Korea. And finally, I would say a focus on mental health, I think needs to be expanded in our country. I think we need to have more discussions on this very important topic on all levels of society. So our young people, middle-aged, and then older population, everyone, we need to talk about mental health and come up with policies and sort of all of government approaches to improve the mental health of our population, because as we've seen in so many different ways,
yes,
it is an impactful area that we have not really addressed successfully.
Well, thank you so much, not just for today, but of course, the entire year, your wealth of knowledge that you've shared with our listeners. We do appreciate it. And Happy New Year, Dr. Tan.
Thank you. Happy New Year to you too.
And this was our second special interview. It is time for Bobby and Business Perspectives. Good morning.
Good morning, Catherine. How are you?
I'm doing okay. So I know it's like, our last Monday of the year.
Yes.
And it's been a doozy.
Oh, yes. Yeah. It's condolences go out to all the families. Jeju Air flight, and it's been a tough weekend, I'd say, overall. Yeah.
Yes, it has. Well, what are we covering today? And obviously, we're going to have a part 2 of whatever you've brought us. What are we doing?
So today I wanted to, as we wrap up the year, I just wanted to talk about maybe some of the larger business-related topics that happened in 2024.
Sure,
kind of like a quick review of 2024. And so that's, just a look back and just kind of reflect on what happened over the past year. So, I think some of the top stories, number one, in the world of electric vehicles, for the first time in 2024,
yes,
BYD, a Chinese electric vehicle manufacturer, overtook Tesla in overall unit sales for pure battery electric vehicles. First time in history. Yes, that's a significant one. So that's the number of unit sales of pure battery electric vehicles, right? Now, last year around this time, when you looked at the sales amount, like dollars-wise, both companies were very similar. But in Q3 of this year,
yes,
this is the first time also BYD surpassed Tesla in overall revenue.
Oh.
Right, so they made about $28 billion in the quarter versus $25 billion in the quarter for Tesla.
Okay.
Now, one thing on that one, Catherine, is Tesla only makes pure electric, battery electric vehicles.
Yes.
As opposed to BYD, they have both battery electric vehicles and hybrids.
I see.
They get sources from other means as well. But, what's surprising about BYD is just their quick rise, because they just started producing battery-powered vehicles over the past couple of years, since 2022.
Yes, indeed.
So that was one of the stories that I wanted to highlight. Also, in another in the world of tech, NVIDIA became the world's most valuable company.
It did.
In 2024.
Right.
It actually happened in this quarter, Q4, and it actually overtook Apple as the world's most valuable company by market capitalization. And NVIDIA was valued at $3.43 trillion. Versus, with a T, not a B. Yes. Versus Apple at $3.38 trillion. And also, with AI continuing to boom, and as a chip maker, NVIDIA's share price continued its upward rise. The value of NVIDIA's stock price has risen by almost 190% this year alone. Right? And so it just highlights the importance of AI in the overall global technology landscape, right?
Indeed.
Another tech story that happened in 2024, there's the largest IT outage occurred in 2024.
Oh, yes.
So July 19th, there's a software update from CrowdStrike, the company, cybersecurity firm, and it caused the largest IT outage in history, locking up an estimated 8.5 million Windows devices, and they ultimately got the blue screen of death.
Yes.
So the impact of this was, grounded flights, frozen online banking systems, and disrupted emergency service providers. And according to one insurer, this incident alone cost Fortune 500 companies roughly $5.4 billion.
Oh.
Yes. So you think about it, because we talk about all these advancements in technology, especially with AI getting the lion's share of all the news these days. But this kind of story just reminded us also the fragile nature of the infrastructure of technology as well.
Wow.
Especially for businesses and services that rely on it and continue to rely on it in the future.
Because it was short-lived.
It was short-lived, yes.
I mean, relatively
short-lived, but the impact was so
huge.
Yes. Just disruption all over the place, right?
Yes.
Another story that happened in 2024 is, it's a kind of a recurring story. I just say, come on back into the office, that is.
No more remote work
yes.
for many companies.
Yes. Now, 2024 was another year of struggle in terms of getting, for the companies to get workers back into the office. And companies have been pushing for employees to come back into the office more frequently.
Yes.
As business leaders are increasingly turning their backs against remote work. So this year, we saw more of a hybrid model being accepted. So there's a compromise between both sides of employees and employers. Now, one major company, Amazon, was the largest employer to instigate a 5-day return to the office policy. So that was pretty big.
Right. So some major things that happened.
Yes.
Looking back, a lot happened this year.
A lot happened, yes.
Yes. Okay, what else?
Well, I turned this Two's a charm. Trump's, yes, two's a charm. Trump's second term. So everyone is on the watch with President-elect Donald Trump's second term. Now, he has very aggressive protectionist policies, MAGA, Make America Great Again. And it's raised a lot of concerns about the potential trade wars and overall disruption to global supply chains.
And?
Yes.
That's where we're going to end it. Like a dun-dun-dun.
Dun-dun-dun-dun.
Cliffhanger. Because we're going to continue. We want more from you, of course, in the new year. So I want to end it with thank you so much for your months of just reporting on these business stories that we need to know about. Yeah. And, of course, Happy New Year to you.
Happy New Year, everyone. Yes, thank you.
All right. Everybody, this was Bobby with Business Perspectives. And once again, our main top story was regarding what happened with the Jeju air crash. Of course, in mourning, deepest condolences. We're going to end it with Doa 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 by Day 6. And please join me again tomorrow. Bye, everybody.
아무 말 없이 마주 앉아 지금 머릿속에 이 말을 해야 하나 만나 원하지 않지만 한없이 끌어안고 있던 날 놔야 해 난 아무것도 해줄 수 있는 게 없는데 내가 없어야만 행복할 너라서 너와 언젠가 웃을 수 있게 네가 웃을 수 있게 괜히 생각나는 우리 웃으며 장난치던 날들 너무도 소중한 기억들